Hi everybody, Adrian here, Critical Impact Group out of Southwest Wisconsin. Going to talk to you guys today about the new optic from Vortex that just dropped. I've been playing around with one for about a month and can talk about it now. So I'm going to give you guys my initial impressions. I haven't played around with it for a while. Cutting straight to the point, if I can summarize this in one sentence, there's nothing here that's going to be groundbreaking when it comes to features or performance, but I do think that it is ultimately going to prove to be a solid offering and a competitive dot in this specific niche from Vortex. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the existing Vortex pistol red dots out there, the Venom, the Viper, and the Razor, certainly if you've had any training with me or been through any of my red dot classes, you will know that I've never been a big fan, even back in the day when I was more involved with Vortex on some product development stuff and training. That said, these dots have been completely designed from the ground up. They are not part of the old line or anything like that. So it's taken them several years actually to do this project and to finally release a red dot. And for what it's worth, Vortex does have its own engineering team here in the States. So even though these dots are going to be made overseas in China, I personally know a lot of the guys who've been working on these, and they have been putting their own time, their own design into it. This, to my knowledge, is not a design that they just went overseas and had somebody in the factory draw up for them. I know that they put a lot of work into these dots, so I appreciate that. Let's see, what can I tell you about the dot so far? I'm not going to give you all the specs because you can look those up yourselves. I'm just going to tell you my experience with them. So I got two of them. Again, I had them for about a month now. I have one on a 43X and one on a Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. I've got probably about 250, maybe 300 rounds through the one on the 43X. It's not a pistol I shoot a lot, and in all honesty, I'm not going to be putting a lot of rounds through this particular optic just because, again, this isn't a pistol I shoot a lot. I'm not here to torture test these dots. That said, I have beat them around a bit. I have dropped this one repeatedly, been pretty harsh on it. It's held zero. It's continued to work just fine. So it's definitely holding up to things that the older Vortex dots just absolutely would not have. I am impressed so far with its durability. Opening the box, let's see, do I got the box here? Yeah. Opening the box up right away, the first thing that I was struck by is you have screws coming out of your ears. It's awesome. I've been saying that companies should do this for years, but they actually have individual bags. Let's see if I can get that in focus, that label the screws, what they are, the thread, the screw length, and then what pistol they're actually for. So super cool. I mean, they've got just about every pistol you can think of in here. And I know that the customer service there is really solid. So if there is some gun that you have that you don't have screws for, if you call up their customer service department, I'm pretty sure that they will get you set up and tell you what you need or send you what you need. Hopefully the screws are of good quality, and knowing the people who are involved in this project, I have to assume that screw quality was something they considered. I know that they were definitely aware of screw issues with other optics or optic mounting systems from various manufacturers. I know that the engineers over there used the McMaster car screws to, say, like replace the screws in the MOS system. So I really believe, I have no reason not to believe that they wouldn't have sourced quality screws. I just know that if there's been a problem with Vortex mounts on the rifle side of things that come with, like, say, the Spark Solar and some of the other red dots, it's the biggest weakness that I have personally seen are kind of poor quality screws. So hopefully these are good. They should be. I don't see why they wouldn't be. They come with a blue Loctite already on them, so they're degreased, they're ready to go. Let's see what else in the box. Comes with a little adjustment tool, which is all right. It's a top-loading battery. Yeah, so nice features right off of the bat, out of the box. The optic mounts directly to a 43X or a Shield Plus in this case, which is really nice. No mounting shims or plates required. It does come with a shim that it says on the bag that it's designed for if you're going to zero the pistol, I think 15 yards or closer. You probably don't need it. I think there's enough travel. Honestly, slapping this on the 43X, it was basically dead center when I zeroed it. So I would avoid using any plates or shims or things like that if you don't have to. Try running it first. Mount it up very nice and easily, no problems. Talking about the dot itself. So the best thing I could compare it to was a Holosun 407K, which I got one of those puppies right here. Let's see. You can see they're pretty similar size. Obviously, that Holosun is sitting up on top of the slide. The window size actually on the Defender red dot sight is just a hair larger than a 407K. Otherwise, they're very, very similar. The dot brightness gets really nice and bright on the Defender, which I like. You know, even some of my higher end dots, like my SRO, I actually wish that it had another brightness setting or two on really bright sunny days. So this thing gets nuclear bright. That's really nice. The buttons, as you'll notice, has a button on one side and then a button on the other side, which is pretty cool. Now, I know a bunch of you are going to say, oh, I thought Trijicon had a patent on button placement. I thought so too, but according to some guys I know over at Vortex, they've looked into it and they feel very confident that this will survive any questions about button placement patents. One thing about the buttons is you'll see is that they are raised a little bit. However, the housing material is also raised around them. So unlike if you've ever run one of their Vipers, those had a tendency, the rubber had a tendency to catch and get peeled off. I don't think you're going to have a problem with these because the rubber is kind of recessed inside of that little raised aluminum area from the housing itself. I forgot if I mentioned it, top loading battery, glass is nice and clear. It does have this kind of textured front for racking your slide if you're gonna catch it on your belt to rack it one-handed. I don't know how much good that actually does, but it's a nice thought. It's a thoughtful design. Has a little rear kind of scallop there. I don't know if you can see it, the phone's not getting in perfect focus, to give you some type of kind of rear sight if you wanted to. Mounting directly to the 43X or the Shield, you can use factory height sights, which is nice. Adjustments seem to work fine. 1 MOA clicks. The clicks are pretty decent, you know, pretty comparable to other red dots. And then the dot, again, it's not going to be perfectly in focus because of the camera, but the dot looks nice. It looks fairly crisp. Like I said, it gets really bright. One thing I noticed about the dot is if you shake it around, it has a pretty low flicker rate, meaning that as you're moving it around, you're going to see dot, dot, dot instead of a line going across. This doesn't affect your shooting. If you're target focused anyways, you really shouldn't even notice it, but some people will notice it. There's nothing wrong with the dot. I think that's done just to save battery life, which is going to bring me to probably the one downside that I've seen about it so far is that I don't think the battery life is going to match up with some of the other dots out there right now. I'll give you an example. So with my Holosun 407K, all I've been doing at the end of the day is turning it down. I don't even turn it off, throw it in my safe. I turned it down to a medium-low kind of setting just to see how long it would go. And it lasted me about 9 months doing that way, running all the time. So I started doing the same thing with the Defender dot just to compare it. And again, not very scientific, so take it with a grain of salt, but I only got about 3 weeks out of my first battery life. So it does have an auto shut off feature. I've got that engaged now. So we're gonna try that and see if that improves battery life at all. We'll see how long it goes and I will give you an update. Honestly, of all things, when it comes to the dots, as long as it is a top or side loading battery, if we have to sacrifice something, I'm okay with sacrificing battery life. Really, ideally, I'd like to get a good 6 months out of it. So we'll see if now running it with the auto shut off setting gets me 6 months. Talking with some other guys, it sounds like they haven't had issues with that. But I think if you look at the numbers on paper or numbers on the box, you are going to see that the Vortex does have a lower stated battery life, and performance-wise, I think you're going to see that as well. But not the end of the world. I'm trying to think. Let's see, durability. I don't want to say I've torture tested the thing, but I beat it around pretty good. Right on the optic. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really. You know, it's a good looking dot, and so far it seems to be quality made. Again, there's no features on it that I would say are groundbreaking. You don't have different reticle options. Your only option is a 3 MOA dot or a 6 MOA dot. Honestly, for the most part, especially in this kind of pistol, I think that's really all you need. They did some stuff really nicely. It looks good. The dot is good. The glass is good. The battery compartment is good. Again, all of the screws, the footprint is great, being able to direct mount. I think they did a lot of really good stuff with it. Downsides, again, mainly it's just the battery life right now. I'll put some more rounds through it. I'll give you an update. I'll let you know more about the battery life later on down the road. But, right now on my initial impression, at least after putting a few hundred rounds through it, I think it's got good potential to be a pretty solid and reliable carry dot. Again, remember this is a statistic of 1, so the positives and negatives, right? Take it with a grain of salt always. When we have a lot more of them out there, of course, we may have a little bit better idea of statistically, how well they're holding up. But I can tell you that I know, again, the guys working on this project over the years, they put a lot of thought into it, and I know that they really wanted to make a quality dot, something that was going to be more durable, something that people could genuinely trust their life to. That would be a big improvement over their, older line of pistol dots. So anyways, this is what I'm carrying right now. I'm carrying this dot and trusting my life to it right now. So far, it's been really solid, and I've been happy with it overall. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but in that I think the street price on it's going to be somewhere around that like $230 mark or so. So it should be right around that 407K. I think it's going to be a solid competitor. And if you like Vortex, hey, cool. It's nice. It's nice that they are again, even though the dot is made overseas, it's made in China. Same with the Holosuns. Vortex is a U.S. based company, and again, they do have people, design teams here in the United States working on it. So something to consider. All right, if you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll get you an update sometime down the road. Thanks.